So for emotional intelligence, when we talked about outcomes, we asked the question, why do I let outcomes determine my worth? And in mindfulness, when we talked about observing, we answered the question, what evidence of growth am I missing because I'm only looking at outcomes? So now that we're into productivity, we're talking about obedience. If I can't control outcomes, if I can't control the finished product, then what do I actually do? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So let's get into it.
I'm Trevor Turner. Once lost, now living on purpose. I know what it's like to feel locked out of your own potential. This show is for the ones who are ready to take their power back and write a new story 1 hour at a time. You can do it. You can do anything, and you don't need permission. That's why I started the free hour, to give people the space to change their story, to remind them you are not your past, you are not your mistakes, you are not done, you are powerful. You can find freedom, you can find yourself, and you decide what happens next.
So in emotional intelligence, we confronted a painful truth. We confronted the fact that we had allowed outcomes to become the measure of our identities. Success made us feel valuable, but failure made us question who we were. And then in mindfulness, we learned to observe instead of obsess. We began noticing evidence of growth that outcomes could never capture, that the scoreboard never kept track of. The person we're becoming, the character that's being formed, the quiet victories that don't show up on any stat sheet. And now we arrive at the practical question, if the outcomes belong to God, then what belongs to me? The answer is simple: obedience. Today is productivity, where we learn to align action with purpose and build a life that actually moves forward. And we are still on the letter O, and that is for obedience. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the free hour. It's your boy Trevor Turner, and this is another episode of our free hour ABCs, the ABCs of Tree. If you're new here, I hope that by the end of this that you'll subscribe to the channel, like the video, share with me how I've helped in any type of way. Give me a comment on maybe how you've come to understand any of the things that we talk about, or how you are excelling, how you are being productive, how you are giving your effort, how you are giving your obedience. And if there's anything you want me to talk about, please put it in the comments. Share it with your friends. If you're listening on any of the podcast platforms, thank you again. Appreciate you. And let's get into it. One of the most freeing realizations I've ever had was this: I am responsible for my obedience. I am not responsible for the outcome. And that sounds obvious until your prayers aren't answered the way you hoped, until your channel doesn't grow the way you wanted it to, until the interview doesn't turn into an offer, until you're doing everything you know to do and nothing changes. All the job applications feel like they're just being thrown into a black hole. All of the work and the effort that you're putting into your kids don't result into them making the decisions that you want them to make. After all of the time, the effort, the energy, the sweat, the blood, the tears that you throw into work doesn't turn into promotions, doesn't turn into raises. After everything that you try to do on your own businesses, after they turn into failure, after setback, after setback, after obstacle, nothing changes. And that's when you find out whether you've been serving God or serving results. For years, I treated productivity like a transaction. If I worked hard enough, that God would bless it. If I stayed disciplined enough, things would work out. If I obeyed, surely I would get the outcome that I wanted. I think one of the things that I found when I first got into the Word, when I first got into church, I was a Matthew 6:33 person. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all of these things shall be added to you. And I leaned on the second part so much, and all of these things will be added to you. I leaned on that part. I leaned on the prosperity. I leaned on the check in the mail. I leaned on all of these different things. And when they didn't come, I used to equate that with my effort isn't enough. My identity is shaken. My obedience isn't up to par. That I'm not seeking first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness. While I have a roof over my head, while I have a vehicle, while I have a job, while I have all of those different things. And without realizing it, I turned faithfulness into a performance contract. I wasn't measuring obedience. I was measuring visible success. I was measuring the bigger and better. I was measuring the more. I was measuring the zeros. I was measuring the promotions. I was measuring the raises. I was measuring the relationships. I was measuring all of those different things. I wasn't measuring obedience. I wasn't measuring the putting him first. I wasn't measuring the seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. And whenever success got delayed, my motivation started disappearing because I had quietly made results my reward and my only measuring stick, my only motivation, the only fire that burned my desires. I think one of the things that I found when I had changed my life, I found when I was learning about all of these new different things, especially from the book Think and Grow Rich, right, is that white hot burning heat of desire is for what you want, right? But at the same time, it's for what you're willing to do for it. It's for what you're willing to give up, what you're willing to put your effort into, what you're willing to build, what you're willing to create. And I forgot about that somewhere along the way. I know that I had definitely not been living according to that beforehand, but I think lately I had kind of shifted and kind of forgot about that's what it was about. It wasn't. It was about the desire for getting the outcomes. It was about the desire for getting the views and the likes and the clicks and the comments. It was about the desires for getting all of these different awards I was getting. It was about the desires for being able to go wherever I want and do whatever I want and get all of the people clapping for me and shaking my hand and telling me this and telling me that and the external validation. It wasn't the white hot burning desire to share the knowledge with the people who needed it. That was my desire at the beginning because it was tied to two different things, right? When I started to find this knowledge and find that freedom that I had found, that mental shift, that purpose, that drive, I wanted to share it with people. I wanted to share what I had found with people who were in places that I had either come from or I had ended up in. So people in the type of environments that I was in, or people in the prisons, people in the jails, people in addiction, all of those different things, right? That's what I wanted to share with those people. And I had forgotten that the desire was with the sharing and the outcome and what I would get from it and what would come from it and what I could build from it, right? I had forgotten that the desire was supposed to be both. I had forgotten that the desire to be a mentor to people who were going through similar things was a part of it. And the white hot, that heat of desire that's burning within me shouldn't be for what's coming at the end of the tunnel or what's coming around the bend in the mountain, but what I am experiencing while I'm going through it, what I am doing while I'm getting there. The results can't be the only reward. What you do has to be a reward as well. And the shift happened when I realized something that scripture demonstrates over and over. God rarely asks people to control outcomes. God rarely asks people to control the outcome. God tells them that this is what you are to do, and I will give you the victory. God told Joshua and the army of Israel to walk around the walls of Jericho, and he would give them the victory. God told David to be faithful and to be a man after his own heart, and he would secure the victory. God told Saul to do certain things and go about things in a different way, and he would give the victory. He would give the blessing. He would make sure that he was on the throne of Israel. He told us to do the things that he wanted us to do and that he would be responsible for what comes out of it. He asked us to be faithful. Noah couldn't control whether people listened, but in the book of Acts, they called him a preacher of righteousness. Noah couldn't control anything but building that ark. Noah couldn't control where they were going to land at. Noah couldn't control when the rains were going to come. Noah couldn't control even whether the animals were going to get there or not. That was God who told him that he would be responsible for the animals coming. He would be responsible for the rains coming. He would be responsible for the rains receding. He would be responsible for never doing that to the world ever again. It was Noah's only responsibility to build that ark, to do what was asked. Moses couldn't control Pharaoh. Jeremiah couldn't control whether Israel repented. Their assignment was not success. Their assignment was obedience. Mine was too. And maybe yours is too. Maybe the assignment isn't what you are going to get from this huge dream that you got. Maybe the assignment isn't going to be to get the results of everything that you were trying to build. The assignment is to build it. The assignment is to work. The assignment is to touch people. The assignment is to help people. The assignment is to go after it. Because if he put that dream in your mind, if you can conceive it, you can achieve it. If you can imagine it, then you can get after it, you can grab it. Your assignment is to go after it with everything that you got, to go after it with full force, to go after it habitually, to go after it constantly improving. One of the things that Atomic Habits talked about was he talked about Pat Riley and how he used to coach the Lakers and how that he would tell these superstars, the greatest players in the league at that time, to find something that they needed to improve upon and improve upon it by 1%. Continuous improvement, continuous focus, continuous going after it, continuous effort, continuous obedience. And they became the Showtime Lakers. One of the strongest findings in behavioral psychology is that identity-based habits are more sustainable than outcome-based motivation. It's about, this is just what we do. This is just who I am. Like, yeah, I haven't gotten all the results I want to get yet from the gym. Not yet. However, that's just what I do. That's what I talk about to people. That's what I go after. That's what motivates me, is just the fact that this is what I do. When work ends, I change my clothes, I get to the gym. This is what I do. I definitely haven't gotten the results I want to get from this yet. I haven't built everything I want to build yet, but this is just what I do. This is just what I prepare myself for. I just get in front of y'all and I just go on and I talk about the things that I found. I share my stories. I share my insights. I share my concepts. That's just what I do. Identity-based habits are more sustainable. Research by psychologist Wendy Wood has shown that lasting behavior depends less on motivation and more on consistently repeating behaviors that align with who we believe we are. Who we believe we are. You have to really believe it in your heart. You have to know that this is what you are. Right? You have to know, you have to convince yourself that this is who you are and this is who you are becoming and this is just what you do. If your identity is I obey, then your behavior becomes remarkably stable because obedience doesn't depend on feelings. It doesn't depend on applause. It doesn't even depend on immediate results. It just depends on who you're becoming. It just depends on what you're going after. It just depends on what you're willing to give up, on what you're willing to sacrifice, on what you are willing to do. Identity produces consistency. Consistency produces momentum. And momentum over time often produces outcomes, but outcomes are no longer the reason that we act. This month's theme keeps bringing me back to one question. Who actually owns the harvest, right? If we are to plant the seed, if we are to water the seed, but God gives the increase, then who actually owns the harvest? We know that there's the concept that we reap what we sow, right? But if I believe that God is sovereign, if I believe that God is my Lord, then the outcome belongs to him. But the stewardship belongs to me. See, I don't own tomorrow, I just steward today. What's the difference between stewardship and ownership? Stewardship is taking care of something in a reasonable manner, knowing that the owner will return at some point. And I think that's one of the things that we as a people have missed when it comes to dealing with the world, when it comes to dealing with dominion, when it comes to dealing with the idea of rulership, is that we think we will never be called into account for the things that we do, for the way that we treat people, for the way that we treat this planet, for the resources that we deplete. We think we will never be called into account because we think that ultimately at the end of the day, we own everything, not only the process, not only our behaviors, not only our thoughts, not only our efforts, but our outcomes as well. We think that we have full ownership over all of those things. We think in a lot of ways, and a lot of people do, unfortunately, think that they even own the other people that they see, that they own the outcomes that they get, that they own what they can do and what with their lives. But we don't own tomorrow. We steward today. We don't own opportunities. We steward preparation. We don't own influence. We just steward integrity. And that's incredibly freeing for me because it means I can stop carrying responsibilities that were never mine. I can stop carrying tomorrow. I can stop carrying the past. Do you know how much regret comes from the past, all of the decisions I've made? But if it all works out to the good for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose, then that just means that all of those bad decisions that I made, that just means that all of those bad experiences that I went through, that just means that all of the hell that I put myself through, because at the end of the day, I'm responsible for my decisions, I'm responsible for my efforts. All of the things that I put myself through led me to be the person that I am today. I can't change that. I can't change that. All I can change is what I do today. Do you know how much anxiety I have with worrying about tomorrow? Worrying about what tomorrow may bring? Worrying about where my next meals are going to come from? Worrying about if I'm going to get these promotions? Worried about if I'm going to get these raises? Worrying about if I'm going to get this done or that done? Worrying about if this is going to grow or go this way or that way, or if I'm going to be able to go to the place that I want? But when I take the step back and I realize that I only steward preparation, I only steward integrity, that means that all I'm responsible for is making myself today the best possible version of myself so that whatever God wants me to step into, whatever the universe puts me on the path to get to, whatever builds to what at the end of the day I do want to get to, that I will be prepared for it, that I will be ready for it, that I will be the person that I need to be once I step into those new areas, that new promise. And the lesson has become real in my own life. I keep showing up to work. I keep mentoring people. I keep going to school, and by God's grace, I keep earning A's. See, I've had some really good teachers, y'all. Like, I'm not the smartest tool. I'm not the sharpest a knife in the drawer or the brightest bowl in the bowl drawer, or whatever the case, right? But I have become the type of person that will not be afraid to ask a question. And sometimes that's what makes the difference. I'm the type of person that I will ask for clarification in front of everybody. I don't give a fuck if I look stupid or not. I am the type of person that I will do what I am supposed to do. I will put the effort in. I will communicate. I will be the type of person that I need to be. And by God's grace, that helps me to earn the A's. By God's grace, that helps me to put in the effort in, because I'm not, at the end of the day, I'm not responsible for the way somebody else interprets what I put on the paper. But I keep creating content even when the growth is slower than I imagine. I keep training even while I'm dealing with health concerns. Even when my lower back feels shot, even when I got the sciatica thing going on now, even when I'm not losing the weight I want to lose, even with the sleep apnea stuff that's going on. I keep waking up, I keep showing up, I keep getting after it, because that is what I am. I'm committed to recovery. That is my identity. I keep trying to make wise financial decisions even when money is tight. Even when these people got us paying $6 a gallon here in California. And it feels like I don't have the money to make the decisions with, the decisions out of my hand, right? But none of these things actually guarantee the future that I want. Some days it feels like I'm doing everything right and still nothing changes. Some days it feels like I'm being the smartest I can with my budget, the smartest I can with my food, the smartest I can with my supplements, the smartest I can with my training, the smartest I can with my mentees, my clients, the people I work with. And nothing changes. And nothing goes right. And nothing ends up the way that I feel like it should, based on effort, based on what I put in, based on where I used to be with believing that outcomes were the determiner or the measurement or the mark of my worth. But I realized something. I never really considered quitting. I only considered adjusting direction. And that's different, because obedience isn't stubbornness. Obedience is continuing to faithfully steward what God has placed in front of you while remaining humble enough to change course when wisdom requires it. See, if we really think that we got ownership and we own tomorrow, and we own what's going to happen next month, then we will keep just running our head into the wall over and over and over again. But if we know the only thing that we really have control over is what I put into it, my effort, my imagination, my creativity, my intellect, then we'll be able to pivot. We'll be able to find new things. We'll be able to keep from being knocked off of our path and going back to old ways, going back to old things that we know work, right? So let's talk about practical applications. Practice number 1, define today's assignment. Every morning ask this: what has God, the universe, Mother Earth, Creator, whatever you believe in, actually placed in my hands today? What has been placed in my hands today to care about? Not this year, not 5 years from now, today. What is in my hands to take care of today? What is in my hands to nurture today? What is in my hands to pour into today? Who is in my hands that I can be affectionate towards, that I can show love towards, that I can be motivating to, that I can give encouragement to today? And then write down 3 acts of faithfulness that you can complete before the day ends. Judge your day by those, though, not the results. Judge your day by whether you did what you could today, not by how everything turns out. If you know that you have a coworker who's going through some stuff and you realize that today they are in your hands to offer a motivating word, to try and get them to crack a smile, to try and get them to forget about what they're going through today, judge yourself by whether or not you did it, or whether or not you worried about tomorrow, whether or not you worried about the reports, whether or not you worried about retention, right? Number 2, build systems that reflect identity. Instead of saying that I hope I stay motivated, just say I'm the kind of person who shows up. And then build routines around identity. Read because you're someone who seeks wisdom. Train because you're becoming someone who stewards your body. Create because you're becoming someone who serves others. Mentor because you're becoming someone who loves people faithfully. A lot of us, we skip to the outcome. I'm going to read to get to the end of this book. I'm going to create because I'm going to get some money off of it. I'm going to mentor because I'm going to change the whole world. I'm going to train because I'm going to get to 250, lean, solid muscle, 6-pack showing, big old chest, big old legs, strong as fuck, right? Instead of just becoming the person that does it. And one of the things we talked about in Atomic Habits is we talked about things like stacking your habits, right? Building habits around identity. Like, I don't think about, damn, am I motivated to go to the gym today? Do I got the energy? How do I feel today? I just think about the fact, like, okay, what am I doing today because I'm going to the gym? Because that's what I do. 5 o'clock, I'm in the gym. I don't think about what I need to do when I'm at work, how much effort I need to put in, like how much is my 100 today? I don't think about that. I just give it because that is what I do. That is who I am. It becomes kind of like taking yourself almost out of the equation, automating the decision so that you just kind of slide into what you're supposed to do. When you make it a routine, it just becomes easy. You don't have to deal with the things like decision fatigue. You don't have to deal with the what ifs or, well, what about that or what about that? You just deal with the fact that, okay, at this time, on these days, this is what I do. This is where I'm at. This is what I give, and that's it. It takes away the anxiety, takes away the regrets, takes away the worry, and just helps you get to the work. Number 3, end each day with one question. Was I faithful with what was mine to do? So we're not going to ask ourselves anymore today, did I succeed today? We're not going to ask ourselves anymore, did I take my steps closer to where I'm getting today? We're not going to continue to ask ourselves, did I move the numbers? Did I meet the metrics? Did I change the reds to yellows or the yellows to greens? We're going to be asking, was I faithful with what was mine to do? Did I leave anything in the tank? Did I leave anything to the side? Did I hold anything back? Did I text everybody that I could have possibly texted? Did I call everybody that I could have possibly called? Did I check in on everybody I could have possibly checked in on? Did I do all of the notes that I could have possibly done? Or did I leave something behind that was my responsibility to be faithful over? Is there somebody who was waiting on me today that I didn't get to because I wasn't faithful over it? Did I scroll too much? Did I take too many breaks that I didn't really need? And that question changes everything, because it's not about like meeting your metrics or hitting your numbers, because you can get in the gym, right? And on those days where you just feel dumbass weak and you won't hit your normal numbers, but you'll still get that contraction. You'll still get that pump. You'll still get that feeling, because you know that you didn't leave anything on the table. Yes, I didn't hit what I normally would hit. But yeah, I still did my rep range. I still got my hypertrophy. I still went to failure. I still did what I was supposed to do. I didn't feel myself getting weak and then just decide to leave. I was faithful with what was mine today. See, God never asked me to guarantee the harvest. He just asked me to plant the seed. See, Paul says in the Bible that we are to plant the seed. Somebody else is to water the seed, but God is the one who gives the increase. God is the one who guarantees the harvest. All that we are asked to do is to do the work. And all that we can be responsible for is whether we did the work or not, whether we were faithful or not, whether we spoke up, whether we put the effort in, whether we did everything that we could. And peace came when I stopped trying to manage outcomes that were never mine to control. I think we are wrestling with so many different things that we actually have no control over fully. Like, we're depending on other people to fuck with what we're doing. We're depending on other people to buy what we buy, to value what we're offering, right? And we don't actually have fully control over that. The only thing we have control over is whether we put our best into something, whether we wrap it up nice, whether we package it in the right way, and then put it in front of their face. We don't control whether they watch it, whether they buy it, whether they fuck with it, whether they like it, any of those things. The only thing that we control, that is ours to control, is the quality of what we put in front of those people. Faithfulness is doing today's assignment without demanding tomorrow's reward. It's about building what you're trying to build. And I know in a lot of ways, when we are selling our time to these companies or to these other people, that we will do today's tasks and expect to be rewarded, expect to be looked upon favorably, right? And that's right for that system, because that's how capitalism is built. If I'm doing my best for you, I expect to be rewarded. But the thing is, when we are trying to build that thing on our own, when we are trying to build our own stuff, we can't expect anything to come overnight, right? Because I am never a proponent of being super productive, leaving everything on the table so that you have nothing left for yourself when you're building anybody else's dream. When I talk about productivity, I'm talking about for us. I'm talking about writing our book. I'm talking about making our content. I'm talking about getting our body right. I'm talking about raising our kids, right? I'm not talking about making money for somebody else's business. And I think that's the thing that we need to distinguish first and foremost. And I think I need to distinguish it at every video. Like, when you're working for that man, or you're working for that woman, or you're working for that other person, yes, you can demand your rewards based upon the effort that you put in, and you should, because that is within your control to speak up. Whether they give it to you or not may not be in your control, but it has nothing to do with how much effort you put in, right? You can put in that effort and ask for it, but when you're building the thing on your own, when you're building that thing in your garage, when you're building that thing on your computer, when you're building that thing in front of the camera, when you're building that thing in the quiet places, instead of being able to do what you enjoy and get the recreation, get the release, get the recharge, and you're still pouring yourself into what it is that you are trying to build, all you can be responsible for and all you can do is today's assignment for yourself. And if you demand tomorrow's reward for everything that you're doing for yourself, you will burn yourself out and you will not be able to get back to it. You will only be able to find the energy to do what pays your bills. You will never be able to build what you want to build on the side. And that's the thing that I talked about with failure. You will fail. You will crash and burn when you're trying to do your own thing. But you still need to do it. You still need to get after it, because we can't keep living in this rat race and running on this hamster wheel over and over and over again, right? But the thing is when you get off of that and you start trying to build your own thing, don't expect the results to come overnight. And if they do, amazing. But if they don't, that doesn't mean that you didn't put everything into it. That doesn't mean that you're not good enough. That doesn't mean any of those things. All you have to do is just be faithful with today's assignment. And remember that consistency is what obedience looks like when nobody is watching. Integrity is being the person that you say you are, even when people ain't watching to check if you're that person, right? Consistency is when you're watching, when you're the only one who's there. When you know that what you're building is important to you, when you know that what you're building is what God put in your mind, what God put on your heart, what God gave you the vision for, and you just keep getting after it, you keep going after it. Obedience is what, or consistency is what obedience looks like when nobody else is watching, when nobody else has discovered you yet, when nobody else has heard about your name yet, when you are walking into these rooms and people ain't talking about you yet, but you're still putting in the work, you're still getting to it. Because the outcome belongs to God, but the next act of obedience belongs to me. The way that I show up, how I carry it, how I do things, that belongs to me, but the outcome belongs to God. See, outcomes taught us that our identity cannot rise and fall with success. Observe taught us to recognize growth that outcomes can't measure. Obedience teaches us how to live tomorrow morning. It's not by chasing certainty. It's not by demanding guarantees. It's not by performing for approval. It's by faithfully doing what has been entrusted to us today. Because that's all we've ever really been given. That's all we really got. Tomorrow's never been ours. And the past is not ours anymore at all. The outcome has never been ours. Only today is. And today's obedience is enough. So tomorrow morning, you don't have to know how your story ends. You only have to be faithful with the next thing that God places in your hands. Because obedience is measured by today's faithfulness, not by tomorrow's results. All right? And that's it. It's been your boy Trevor Turner. That's been productivity, man. That's where we align our efforts with purpose to build the life that we've always dreamed of. And I'll see y'all next time. Deuces.